Hello everyone, welcome back to Allcarnews, and I am here with the 2024 Polestar 2 Dual Motor Performance Plus. And since it is that 2024 model, we have new electric motors, some chassis and hardware tweaking for the powertrain. We have a new front fascia, some new wheel designs, some other fun stuff happening on the interior, but the real thing with this 2024 Polestar 2 lineup is there's more range as well, and there's that really important shift from a front-wheel drive bias to a rear-wheel drive bias, and that completely changed the dynamics of the Polestar 2. It's way more fun to drive than even it was before, and I think it's finally kind of honed in on its own unique persona, and that makes me really excited for the future of Polestar products coming down the road from the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6. So how has this Polestar 2 been over the past week? I'm going to show you that in this video, as well as take you on a full tour of all the new features for 2024. Let's go take a look. So guys, since this isn't a gas vehicle, we're just going to open the front to see what's under the hood, but we know we have a 78 kilowatt hour battery pack powering this Polestar 2. I believe it's using LG Chem technology on this particular dual motor variant, and the big news here is that we have two new motors. Out back is a new Synchronus motor, up front is a new induction motor, and that new rear motor is way more powerful than the front motor to kind of give it that more dynamic balance. We're pushing here in this particular Polestar 2 dual motor performance around 455 horsepower, and I think around 546 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty impressive, and you definitely can feel that torque off the line and around corners because that rear end is very playful nowadays. We do have a frunk here, as you can see, which is nice, even though we have dual motors, and Polestar has provided me with a few cables here to play around with, as well as a repair kit and a nice big space to kind of play around with, which is pretty nice. Now, your EPA estimated to get around, nice solid thunk there, around 247-ish miles of range, though I've been seeing around 200 to 220 miles of range in this colder climate, and with a little bit more of a spicier driving style because I've been testing this thing over the past week. It maxes out at around 155 kilowatts for its charging speed, though my stations here are so bad and populated, I've only seen speeds of up to 98 kilowatts, but that's not necessarily the Polestar's problem. It's more of the public charging infrastructure's issue and just, well, my area. There's really not good DC fast chargers, so that's going to really depend where you are. And of course, if you charge at home most of the time, you really don't ever have to worry about it unless you take it on a road trip. Okay guys, so here we are with the Polestar 2 for 2024, and here we see it in a shade called Midnight. It's a pretty nice color. It's almost like Volvo's denim blue, I'd say it's most akin to. And I really like this new front end that Polestar has gone with. The rest of the car really hasn't changed too much from the just regular older Polestar 2 versus this facelift version. And it really is a facelift visually. As you can see, the face has been changed. Up front, we have this new grille design, which looks really clean and sleek. It's now body colored versus the old kind of grid style pattern. And here we see this new kind of smart zone up front, kind of like similar to what BMW is doing on the iX, Polestar is doing here. So this hides both your front camera as well as your mid-range radar, and I like how they kind of label that right there. And you can also see some additional ventage underneath there for some additional cooling for the battery as well as your air conditioning. Over here we do see our Polestar engineered badge, as this does come with the Polestar software upgrade, performance upgrade, as this is the performance model. Up front, we also have our Pixel LED headlights with that kind of like signature Thor's hammer style daytime running light signature. But we also have full LED fog lights down here, which are really bright at night, and they also serve as your cornering lamps, which I think is really cool. Blending right over to the side over here, we have these massive 20-inch forged performance wheels. Now, normally if it was nice out, we would get nice performance rubber, but since it is the winter, it's cold, it's wet, it's slippery, we are getting this more, and you can see how much tread there's on them, aggressive Michelin tires here for extra traction in the winter. Even though this is all-wheel drive, you always want to have the proper tires on. Now, also on these wheels, you can see we have a covered cap here for your nuts, and we also get these kind of gold valve stem caps here for this performance package, as well as these massive front Brembo brakes with these gold Polestar kind of themed logos on there, which is really nice. Out back is a little bit of a smaller brake because EVs, you don't need the biggest brakes all the time because you're using that regenerative braking. Quick look at the rear tires right here. You can see what I'm talking about. We do get the gold valve stem caps and a really tiny gold caliper up there, but these rear brakes are nowhere near as massive as the front. Another super unique design feature of the Polestar 2 has to be the side mirrors. Yes, you can see that they are indeed frameless, which is really cool. Even when you move them around on the Polestar 2, the whole mirror moves, which is really unique of a style. It's kind of like this pod shape. And of course we have that LED repeater up here, which is really nice for your turn signals. Really nice, gigantic glass roof, and I love how you can see the Polestar star shining bright and proud up there. It's a projection onto that upper glass. You can see it from the interior too. It looks absolutely epic. Okay guys, let's go take a look at the rear trunk space now. I'm just gonna unlock the vehicle real quick for you guys. I don't have to unlock the vehicle, but I could just hold down the button on my key fob and the tailgate should open. Well, I should more say hatchback, because this is a true hatchback on the Polestar 2. Check out how tall the rear piece is. It's that one piece connecting the tailgate and the glass, which is really nice. You also have this nice cargo divider, which can be removed with these little wires on the straps on the side here. And you can see just how wide this opening is. It's really nice. I do wish this kind of scuff plate area was extended maybe a little bit further out, because I could see this area getting a little bit scratched up with time. And you can also see it's getting dirty just from road grime, which is kind of gross, but that happens on all vehicles. What I do love in here is just how usable this space is. It's decently wide enough. You can see my tripod back there. And it also has this underfloor storage solution that I really like. Before you even get to the underfloor storage solution, you have this nice grocery kind of cargo divider here, which is really handy when you have to want to keep things separated, especially with all that torque in this vehicle. Things will be flying around back here probably if you're on your commute home. Now, opening up this understorage here, you can see how much more space you get under this rear floor, because the motor is so compactly packed back there, and you have this little manual lever here that will keep this thing up. If you want to kind of move things in and out of there easier, it'll keep that up, which I really like. I love these storage solutions in modern Volvo and Polestar products. Lots of space back here, and just look at all these different layers it has now. You have your hatch, this cargo cover, and now this underfloor cover. Really cool stuff. That'd be cool if this was powered though. Closing that up is super easy. Nice thick and felt lined carpet feeling material. On the side panel here, we have a little bit of a strap for some more things you want to store there. A 12-volt socket, 2 cargo tie downs over there, as well as a nice big net and some more storage on this side over here, which is pretty nice. And of course, you do have a ski pass through in the center of the seats, but I think that's kind of irrelevant because these seats fold down anyways, and you have a whole bunch of more space if you kind of remove this cover, fold the seats down. This thing becomes a pretty spacious little sedan crossover thing. And of course, on all modern vehicles with power tailgates, you can lock and close and just simply close it. Closing that up is pretty easy. Quick power operation, and it should do a nice little tail light animation for us when it's closed. Look at that. So let's go hop in the rear end of the Polestar 2 now, and it should be unlocked already. Like I said before, we can lock and unlock the Polestar 2 from these exterior handles on all 4 doors, which is really fantastic. And opening this rear door panel to the rear seats is a pretty nice space. We have white leather in this particular one. You can get a non-leather material on the other versions of the Polestar 2, which is nice. Door cards are pretty decent. We have this kind of like recycled style textile material up here, which is soft enough. It doesn't feel hard at all. A nice metal accented door pull right there, which is nice. A little bit of a speaker here for your Harman Kardon speaker system, which is nice. That same leather material carries over to the door panels. We also get a automatic window and lock button, which is nice. Lower panel gets harder plastics, that we do get a little bit of space up back here, but I wish it was more, and another speaker. Let's hop inside now, because I have a little bit of some issues with this rear seat, even though it is comfortable. Hopping inside is pretty easy. You may want to watch your head here if you are taller, and then closing the door is also pretty easy to do. Nice solid thunk from this platform. Nice, really strong platform that Volvo and Polestar are sharing and make. And what are we going on with back here? Well, we have some problems. It is a little bit of a tight and cramped interior that I've kind of experienced over this past week. This is my driving position here. Yes, it's a little bit further back than I guess some normal people, but this is how I like to sit. Now, I could move it up for some passengers, but I could fit back behind myself, and it is a little tight, unfortunately, though. As you can see here, my legs are pretty much pressing up against the rear seats back here, which isn't super comfortable. And you do have these cutouts back here for your legs, which is nice, but again, it's not really super convenient, I think, for everyone. Now, you do have a lot of foot space, which is nice, and you do have this little bit of a cargo net back here, which I do like as well, though I wish there was more rear leg room. And on this side of the seat, you can see that there's a little bit more space for the passenger, but getting across isn't easy because you have this absolutely massive hump that it honestly is like a foot long. So it's really annoying to kind of get across if you want to put 3 people back here. And putting 3 people back here is really difficult, because then they have to kind of like either straddle this hump, which is going to take space from either passenger, and it's just not the most convenient thing. And I haven't even gotten to the headroom part, which is really not good. And this passenger seat is a little bit more further forward than the driver's seat, and it's still a little bit tight. And these are pretty much like normal seating positions. I'm not putting the seat back too far. That's unusual, but they're a little bit tight. What I do like though is the materials back here look nice on the backs of the seats. I do appreciate that. Now the other issue is the headroom. Now I'm 6 feet tall, and I'm not being any weird or anything, but this whole thing is really tight back here for my headspace. My head is brushing the roof right now, and I'm not even moving it completely back. If I put it completely back and try to sit comfortably straight up, I have 0 headspace. You can see my hand is hitting the roof line right there, and that's a little bit uncomfortable. I can't really even move my head to the right whatsoever because it bangs into this side pillar, but I have space obviously to go that way. So it's a little bit tight on headspace back here too, which is a little bit disappointing. You would think this gigantic glass roof would help with that, but unfortunately it does not go far back enough to kind of improve headspace back here. So if there's anything to work on in a future Polestar 2 and even future Polestar products, work on the rear headspace. Otherwise though, it's a pretty nicely appointed rear cabin. I don't have any other complaints back here other than the small like sizing issues. Nicely well appointed, and it feels very comfortable. But I think I'd rather spend my time in the front seats and just instead of staring at the Polestar star back here. So let's go hop up front now. This is a much more favorable area, and I do want to note the door cards are just a little bit different up here. We do have our memory seats and a little bit of a wider space over here to kind of put some stuff, though still no real cup holder extra space. And I absolutely love the design they did here for the Harman Kardon speaker system. And this actually, believe it or not, is a Harman Kardon logo on like a 60-degree angle, I believe it is. Really nice design here. It looks very premium, and it feels very premium as well. But let's hop inside. Much easier to get inside, I think, than the rear seats. A lot more opening of a space here, which I quite like. Doors have that nice same solid funk to them as well, and the interior lighting is just as bright up here as it is out back, and you can still see the Polestar logo glowing up there, and it is a projection, which is pretty cool. You can kind of see my hand kind of covering up there. Really cool touch on all of these Polestar models. So what are we dealing with up front here? So this is a Polestar 2, and you may notice there is no start-stop button whatsoever in this vehicle, and that's a typical trait of going to be Polestar and Volvo electric vehicles going forward. So you can put your foot on the brake. You can see brake and shift in reverse or drive to start, and you just put it into drive or reverse, and it starts up for you. Really nice space in here. A lot of design going on here. Even though it's a little bit of a minimalistic space, I think it still looks visually very appealing. Up front here, we have our Volvo steering wheel. And I'm going to say Volvo steering wheel because this is literally a Volvo steering wheel just with the Polestar logo on it. We have our pilot assist functions over here. We have our audio controls here, as well as this button, which kind of changes the display. This is a really cool, unique Polestar feature that you don't get on a Volvo. It's this kind of color display. Pressing that button, it opens up into a full mapping display, and Apple Maps will actually appear up here in addition to the standard Google Maps, and you can get Waze turn by turn on there, but I don't believe the maps are fully supported for Waze just yet. I honestly really like this display layout and the easeability of this control. Steering wheel itself is nice and very, very thick. I'm not too keen on this material. I didn't like this in my Volvo S90 either. I really did not like this vegan kind of leather material. It does get really nice and warm though when you have your 3-stage heated steering wheel on, but the material just doesn't feel super premium. I wish they could have wrapped it in the same leather that the seats is wrapped in. Over here we have our front and rear fog lights, as well as a full automatic headlight controls, and on the right hand side, of course, we have our windshield wiper stock with a button here for your automatic wipers to turn on and off. So that's all feel really nice, and these do feel very premium as well, but very minimalist. And here with buttons, there really aren't many other than your simple side door controls, as well as a hatch release as well. I'm also not too big a fan of this center console. Yeah, it may look nice, but it is just so huge for no reason. You have a little bit of storage on the side pocket here, but other than that, I think it's just unnecessarily too large. It may not look as big on camera, especially with this 0.5 lens on, but it is so annoying for my knee right here. I think a lot of people have complained about how wide this center console is. I can't get comfortable with my knee on here. If I'm like on the accelerator pedal here, I kind of have to like move my foot over to the left while my leg is kind of like impeded by this giant panel here. So I wish they can redesign this so they can continue with the Polestar 2 going forward, because it's just a little bit too wide. And I think the whole spacing situation here is just a little bit of an ergonomic mess. Let me explain that really quickly. Up here we have a wireless charging mat, and you would think that maybe your USB-C ports. Something would be in the center console over here, but since there's no real space, they've decided to put them with these little flaps facing flush with this panel that you have to open up. And since this has no wireless CarPlay, I mean, yeah, it has Bluetooth and stuff and Google built in, but if you want to use CarPlay, you have to plug a USB-C port in like this into this specific port, not this one, and then you can plug your phone in. And then you kind of have to turn the wireless charger off so it's not charging and thinking it's trying to connect to this at the same time. So the wireless charger becomes pointless. Oh, this is just a little bit of an annoying mess for a 2024 model. I don't know why they couldn't have added wireless Apple CarPlay into the system. It's just a little bit weird. And you really have no storage in this area. Even on the door cards, there's this tiny little pocket here and a little bit down here, but otherwise there's no storage in here other than this one cup holder and this very strange center console that you have to open up to get to your second cup holder. And if you want more storage in here and it's not a big space, you kind of have to do this weird maneuver to kind of remove the center cup holder, and then you have to put that somewhere and you have a little bit extra space. At least they give you a cleaning cloth for your black plastic center console here, as well as your screen. But I really hope they kind of work on their ergonomics in this interior, because this is just a little bit of a hot mess, I think, in my personal opinion. Now, you can slide this up actually if you want more kind of armrest room, but then you lose your front cup holder as well. A little bit of weird situation there. What I do like though is the shifter. It's really cool looking. You have this little glowing Polestar logo in there, which looks really nice at night. Just turn the lights off for you guys to see what that looks like. Really cool looking design. And another weird ergonomic mess that I'm just gonna have to throw in there is this little panel. At first, it looks really nice and it feels very nice too. It has these haptic buttons here. They have a nice little click to them. You can see it just glitched there a little bit to turn on your front defrost and your rear defrost. And you also have this physical button here to kind of change your volume knob. You press play and pause with this as well. Now, the issue I have is that every time I've tried to go and touch this home button right here, I've somehow, with my hand, inadvertently turned on the hazard lights because it's so easy to do. And I'm on the road and then I realize my hazard lights are on. So I'm like, oh, I have to go turn those off now. Yes, it's nice and easy of an accessible place, but it's just too easy in a place where you're kind of maneuvering the screen where it's easy to kind of brush your hand against or touch. So I think they're going to need to move that as well. Enough with the complaints though. Let's hop into the rest of this interior because it generally is pretty nice. Just like out back, the seats themselves are super comfortable and nice. I wish they were more bolstered for this performance version. I do like the nice mix of materials up here. There's kind of like this micro suede material blended with the nice leather, white leather in this particular one. We do have vented and heated seats here, which you can access from these side panels here, which is really nice. 3 stages for everything. And they're, again, very comfortable. I really have no complaints there other than I wish there was a little bit more bolstering. We also do have manual adjustable thigh support. I actually like the manual adjust more than the power because those usually end up taking too long. And we do have a nice big glove box because there isn't any other storage in here. And I like how the manual is stored up here out of the way. And it's kind of like eco-friendly style material. So you have space over here to put stuff, which is really nice. Otherwise, I love the simple design of this interior. This kind of open pore wood feels absolutely fantastic. You can feel the open pore with your hands. I love the ambient lighting under here as well. You can adjust that. And it is only one color though, unfortunately, but I think I actually kind of like this clean white look for the Polestar. This is some kind of nice textured material. It feels premium. Now, to this infotainment system, Google-based system. It's kind of Polestar's skinned version of Volvo's newer infotainment system. And there's a newer version of this coming and the newer vehicles down the road. But for now, this is kind of what you're getting. Like I said before, you have a wired Apple CarPlay and you have this main home screen with these 4 tiles. And these 4 tiles correlate to this screen. So this screen is your, again, see these 4 tiles? This is kind of like your main app screen, and you can move things to really ever you want, honestly, so you can kind of customize it to make it your own. But whatever app you left in will show up as a card on the home screen. So if I was in air quality, for example, on this top right screen, and I went in, I don't know, the journey log, for example, on this one, and then I was in phone here, and I go back to my home screen, those are going to be the last things showing up here. If I want to go back to Apple CarPlay, I'm going to have to go back here, go through there, and then it'll show up as a card there. Same thing with this panel. If let's say I was in my range assistant and I wanted that to show up there, I have to go in and make sure it's there at all times. Even same thing with Google Maps. So you kind of get used to it a little bit. It's a little bit confusing with all the menus sometimes, but generally you will get used to it. Now, you also have this page here, which is kind of like your vehicle controls page. So you have your steering feel adjustment, you have one pedal drive, creep, traction control. You can see all of your assist functions, which is a really nice layout. I really do love this layout. You have some charge adjustments here as well. You can schedule a charge, and you can unlock and lock a cable if it is plugged in. You also have some more settings here for your car status, a whole bunch of other interior controls, which is really fun. And I love the card kind of layout on there. It looks really nice. Even the manual to kind of adjust things. You do have a physical manual, but the digital manual is actually pretty nice as well. It gives you a nice layout of the vehicle, and you kind of point on different areas to get you in different places, which is nice. And it is, like I said, it's a Google-based system at the end of the day. We do have a climate control system here. Let me just open that page. It is built into the infotainment system, as you can see. Lots of controls here. If you want to kind of access your syncing button, it's there. And you have some parking settings for when you're stable, and you have a whole bunch more climate settings for some automatic stuff, which is really cool. And it does have a clean zone air filter, which you can kind of check the air quality stuff in here, which is pretty nice as well. It uses the location data as well as your car data to kind of populate that information. And the climate does kind of eat up a little bit into your range, so it does have a heat pump, I believe, and you can have an eco climate function on, which is nice. And honestly, the heated seats and steering wheel work so well. You don't always need to have the heat on, even when it's cold out, but with the heat pump, you're going to have a more efficient climate system versus a electric vehicle without it. This is kind of like your profile page, and this is also will bring you back to whatever kind of last screen you're on. And then, of course, you have a notification page up here. Vehicle connection for your LTE, Bluetooth, and your time is always going to be up there. And you have a 360-degree camera here. This is the most advanced 360-degree camera on the planet. You can kind of see all around you. You can't kind of zoom around the side of the vehicle, but you can zoom into each point. And the cameras themselves are actually pretty high quality, so I don't have complaints on that one. And in reverse, it will make a sound, and you do have kind of trajectory and parking sensors, of course, to kind of help you in those situations, which is really nice. Otherwise, that is pretty much it with this interior. I know it just kind of went on a whole rant and likes and dislikes of this interior, but there are cool things in here and some things that I wish they could work on. Like, I love this frameless mirror, but I wish it had a camera mirror because the rear view is a little bit cramped back there. But at the end of the day, you're spending almost $70,000 on an electric vehicle, and it could matter to you. But let's go take this thing on a drive now, because honestly, that is one of the best parts of this entire vehicle. Okay, guys, and off we go in the Polestar 2 Performance. Now, we just came off a fast charging session. It took about 30 minutes, and we got a decent amount of percentage in the battery. Not the best range number that I'd like to see. We went from around 25% to 70% state of charge, and still only 160 miles of range. At around 90-ish%, you'll get around like 230 miles of range, which is good. In real world estimates, you'll most likely be seeing around 200 miles of range, 220. Town day-to-day driving, maybe a little bit less sometimes, depending how you are driving it. Though there is no doubt that it is really fun around some corners and stuff. Oh, rear tires get loose there. It's a fun little car, and it's been made even more fun now for 2024. So pardon the rain, everyone, but what's different now for 2024? Well, the whole setup of the car is pretty much new. They went from a front kind of biased all-wheel drive system to now it's a rear biased all-wheel drive system. We have two new motors. If I'm correct, I think the front motor is induction, the rear motor is like a Synchronus system, and that rear motor actually has a lot more power now than the front motor, and that's going to make this thing rear-wheel drive biased. It's going to be way more fun around town to drive, and I guess definitely more in performance applications. And it likes to get the rear end loose quite a bit, I can tell you that. Now, what isn't so much fun is the steering system. Now, if you look in this menu here, you can see you have your steering feel button. So you have light, standard, and firm. It's very artificial in its operation. Now, it doesn't feel like a real, like, true steering rack. It feels very electronic, which it is. And at the end of the day, that's fine, but I wish they kind of fine-tuned that just a little bit more to make it just that little bit more sporty of an experience. Pretty peppy. Off the line, you'll probably see around 4.2, 4.1 seconds to 60 miles an hour if you really care about those figures. So it's definitely got a punch to it. And what really impresses me, though, is not that acceleration, but actually how this thing handles. If you've ever driven or been in a Volvo XC40 Recharge or a C40 Recharge, this is the same platform that that car is built on, as well as pretty much the whole powertrain as well. And what I have to say is that Polestar has really tuned in this chassis and all the bits around it to make make it its own kind of driving experience. It doesn't drive like those kind of crossover SUVs vehicles, and that is largely in part due to we have huge Brembo calipers and brakes up front. We have an Ohlins suspension on all 4 corners, which is adjustable manually, unfortunately, so you kind of have to like remove everything to kind of change the suspension settings, which means right now, whatever Polestar gave it to me, it's a little bit stiff for my liking around town, though that means wonders around corners, which we'll experience in just a second here. Looks like it got a little squirrely too. But around corners, you definitely feel more planted than in those Volvo competitors. Going around corners in those, the rear end kind of hops a little bit, which I really don't like. And you know, this isn't the heaviest of the EVs. It's only around 4,800 pounds, I believe. And that's kind of like on par with some gas cars nowadays, which is insane. So kudos to them for keeping this on the lighter end, and this does come with the fantastic Polestar Pilot Assist. So I'm going to call it Volvo Pilot Assist because it's the same thing, and it's so easy to use. I loved it in my Volvo S90 that I used to have, and you just access it here. You can turn on cruise control or the Pilot Assist now. It's in more of a recent update, and it just works so seamlessly and well. It's confident, safe, very inspiring to use, so I don't really have any complaints with it here. You do always have to have your hands on the wheel. It's not a hands-off style system like a Blue Cruise or a Super Cruise, but it's so good. If you are in an event where there's an emergency, you have to grab something quick, you can confidently take your hands off the wheel for that split second before it starts beeping at you 1,000 times. You can quickly adjust your speed right here, as well as your distance right here. I wish there was a larger display to kind of display what's happening with the system. It's really in this tiny little box down here, because even if I take off the map, for example, it just shows up this nice display here, which is still pretty nice, but I just kind of want to have like a dedicated Pilot Assist screen sometimes. Some other vehicles do offer that, or I guess the Driver Assist screen. Those brakes definitely work so well. I was barely on those brakes at all, and it comes to a very fast stop. And you have that combined force of the regenerative braking and the actual braking. Oh jeez. This thing is a little bit too much fun sometimes. These winter tires with this slippy environment out here make this tail like to step out sometimes. And I have to say that sport mode traction control really will allow a lot of slip. I can't even imagine how this thing feels with regular, just kind of more performance-y tires, summer tires on it. I really love to drive this thing once the weather gets hot out. I'm sure it's going to be a blast, especially once I have time to go up into some nicer roads, not around town, that are not covered in mud and rain and gross leaves and stuff, because that's what our situation is now. So I've been having a blast with this Polestar 2 for the past week. Very good body control, actually. It's really impressive over the Volvo shared platform vehicles. But anyways, really interesting car. It's a unique take, I think, on an electric vehicle. Very different than a Model 3, for example, one of its prime competitors. But it's still, I don't know if it just fully encapsulates everything that you want in an EV. The range still could be a little bit better in that particular area. In some other areas, in certain, like the interior quality, some of the ergonomics and stuff could be improved. And at the end of the day, it's not a dedicated EV architecture, and they're going to have some losses in areas there. So excited for the Polestar brand and what they have to come in the future. But I would definitely go check out a Polestar 2. And one other big thing that I have an issue with is the dealer network. There really aren't any Polestar dealers, and if you need to service them, I believe, I'm not 100% certain on this, if you can take them to a Volvo dealer. I think you still have to take them to a Polestar dealer, and there aren't many. You may have to ship it out to have something fixed if you do need that. So that's something to keep in mind as of right now, though that will definitely change in the future. At the end of the day, it's a pretty cool vehicle. It's a unique vehicle, and I see a lot of them on the roads, which makes me excited. I've seen so many other fellow Polestar 2s that I've been staring at this one, which is really cool to see. Nonetheless, guys, thank you for joining me on yet another video over at Allcarnews, and as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.